Hi everyone, it's Genevieve from Kangaroo Time. Thank you so much for watching the recording of our webinar right now. At Kangaroo Time, we create software for childcare centers. We're an all-in-one solution that helps centers grow their business, connect with their families, and effectively manage their staff members. Our software will help you automate your entire business, including payments, billing, check-in and check-out for children, keeping track of staff hours. We also do classroom automation, and this gives your teacher prompts while they're in the classroom to update parents on feedings, diaper changes, and developmental milestones. And it really hardwires the parents into the early education experience, and they get a beautiful feed of content right on their smartphones. So if you're looking for billing and a payment solution, a parent app, or staff scheduling, contact Kangaroo Time today. Thanks so much and enjoy the webinar.
Hey everybody, Scott Wayman here. Welcome. It's the Prerna and Scott show again. We'll get started in just a moment. Let everybody join. We had quite the number of signups for this one. All right. Well, while everybody's joining, I think it's always a good one to kind of revisit some things. So Prerna and I were talking in the pre-show about the origin of the name Kangaroo Time. So let me just tell that story real quick for 1 minute. Kangaroo Time is actually the second startup that I've worked in, or that I've helped to get off the ground and found. My first one was a company that specialized in medical software, electronic medical records, practice management. And my role there was to go and find new specialties in areas where our software could work. So my favorite specialty was OBGYN. I loved it because that was where people found out the sex of their babies. That's where people found out that they were like pregnant and the pregnancies were healthy. It was just such a wonderful, great specialty, whereas many of the others are kind of like end of life. You know, cardiology and orthopedics are kind of depressing, but I loved OBGYN. And when we were building the product, we were working with a hospital here in California, and they had this really interesting specialty or kind of special practice for medically fragile babies with bilirubin jaundice that were in the NICU and the bassinets. And they called this practice kangaroo care. So it was the process of putting the child on the skin and seeing like great health benefits come for that. And I loved it. And so the account, they would bring in the bassinets from the NICU, and they would chant, "It's kangaroo time, it's kangaroo time, it's kangaroo time." And people, you know, mom and dads would take their shirts off, and that's when I just said I better get into better shape before my wife has another kid. But no, this beautiful practice of intimacy and healing and, you know, maternal connection, kangaroo time. So I told my co-founder at the time, I said, I'm gonna trademark that name because I'm in love with it, and I think customers will connect to it. Because I've been telling him for years I was going to start a company to do what we do, and he said, "That's the dumbest name I've ever heard. Good luck with that." And since then, we've gotten really good feedback. So that's the origin story of the name. All right, so enough about my naming and branding background.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that story. I love it. Now I will think of Kangaroo Time as cuddle, snuggle. I mean, I knew the benefits of skin to skin, but I never heard it called Kangaroo Time. I love it.
Yes, and in fact, like once, if you look at our hashtag and Instagram, a lot of famous people use it now. So we feel like we kind of like, I borrowed that from. Yeah, but
you charted the course, my friend. You just charted that course, and now people are following. That's awesome. I love it.
It's so much cuter of a name than Pro Care or Smart Care or Easy Care or whatever. It's just about like we're doing it right. We're doing naming and branding right. But okay, everybody, real quick, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Scott Wayman. I'm so pleased to be here with Prerna Richards, who's a coach, consultant, trainer, international speaker. She's joining us, and we'll get started in just a little bit, but I told a little bit about Kangaroo Time and what we do. We're a software company. We feel like we're building the tools of tomorrow, and that we're seeing the world a little bit differently than the companies that build the software that you might be using if you're not using ours. And we want you to see it. So please, on our website, you can go book a group demo. These group demos are a lot of fun. We have some really awesome people that do our demos, and they're just like a wild ride. I was in our office in Buffalo all week, and I love to hear them in the background. Sometimes I'll jump in the background and say hello. But these are a 30-minute commitment. And guys, again, I say it all the time. I think we're seeing the world from your perspective. And I think our products are really special and they can help you. So please jump on and take a look. And it's no commitment. We want to evangelize what we're doing. Speaking of evangelizing, we love early educators and early education entrepreneurs and early education stakeholders more than anybody on the planet. We believe that you guys are building bodies, minds, and souls and doing the great work out there. When COVID started last year, we decided that we would start creating content. You know, we canceled all of our growth budgets and everything, and we decided, Genevieve and Marissa, let's just do content. Let's bring on thought leaders like Prerna and Holly Alyssa Bruno and Audrey Wilson, who's an accounting expert and helps business owners, and Christina Ficio. There's just so much great content here. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you can do that, we won't bother you. We'll send you a little reminder every time we put up a new video or content. We're also aggregating all of our content in our blog. So if you're gonna hit our website, go there, subscribe to the blog. Marissa and Genevieve do a great job sharing forms and best practices and downloadable incident reports and things. Like, we don't care if you use our software, we just want to be a part of your community. And then finally, speaking of community, we believe that when great minds come together in Prerna, speaking of great minds, we're going to talk about some really interesting things. All boats rise, right? So we want all of you in our KT Childcare Connect group, and we want you helping us to tell digital stories here and share with everybody. And like Steve got on earlier today and asked, who's going to what conferences? It's like with the vaccination rollouts, Prerna and I were just talking about it. We are ready for community. I'm ready to go out and have some drinks with you guys or pay for your drinks. I'll drink my Coca-Cola on the sidelines. But no, I want to support you in community and having a great time. But with that said, let's get started. I founded Kangaroo Time in 2015. You guys know the history of the name. Again, our role here in the ecosystem is to provide you all with tools, be that with content or with software or whatever. But I'm really proud to bring on Prerna today. Prerna Richards is a coach, consultant, trainer, international speaker. She has been in early childhood field for the last 35 years. The majority of her experience was in the NAEYC accredited program. She is a registered master's level trainer in the Texas Early Childhood Professional Development System. She is also the winner of the Susan Hargrave's Trainer of the Year Award from the Texas AEYC, and that was last year. That was in 2020. A couple of things: you'll get your certificates tomorrow when Genevieve sends the wrap-up email. If you have any questions, we want to hear them. Genevieve and I are here to run support, and Marissa.
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
Oh my God. Well, I sure heard that. I must have said the S word. I must have said, hey, you know who. Okay, if you have any questions, put them in there. Genevieve, Marissa, and I will answer them. Your microphones and cameras are not on. And we are recording. We push record, right? Is this thing on? And we're recording, and you'll get that recording tomorrow, and it will show up on the YouTube channel. For today's discussion, I'm going to hang on. Prerna and I have a back and forth. We're going to discuss 5 factors that can help childcare centers reduce challenging behaviors and stress levels among teachers. Directors will be able to look at their programs with fresh eyes and make changes to their support. Prerna, thank you for joining us. We were talking just a little bit earlier about recruiting and you know, if you press the rewind button from today and go back 18 months, the way that each of you out there staffed your centers, it was a different world. And now everybody, you know, the thousands of customers that Kangaroo Time has, we try to drop in on them and discuss what they're going through, ask them where they need help, and staffing seems to be the place. And Prerna, we were talking about it earlier, staffing and building your culture and understanding the new world of jobs and what you're facing when you're trying to fill out your classrooms. It's a different world.
It's intense. It's intense. It's different, and we don't all have the tools to grapple with it yet. You know, we're all figuring it out. It hasn't fully. We haven't come to the other side of pandemic yet to say, remember back in the day. We're still living it. It's still, you know. I'm sure the fall will look different than right now. I'm sure the summer will look different, but this is a real challenge right now. How to staff, how to run your program. It's a real challenge and a stressful place too.
One of the insights we've had, and then I'll let you jump in, but I think it's important. I think this is something you, me, leaders in early childhood need to be really laser focused on. We're hiring for a position right now, and our HR team came to us and said, hey, it's going to be very difficult to get candidates unless you put remote in the job description. And I immediately, my heart sunk in the that watershed moment of, oh, there's no such thing as remote staffing in our schools. And this is something we need to be really thoughtful about as we move forward. Or we're looking at a national issue. We're looking at a providership in a delivery model. It's broken if we can't find the right incentives to build our staffs, right? So this is something we all need to be thinking about. And Prerna, I know we're going to do some more content here in the coming months. This is one I'd love to do more content on.
Yeah, let's do it. I think let's do it. If we bring our heads together, I'm sure, you know, we're smarter together. So it's going to take us a village to get this figured out. None of us have it figured out, but together we can come up with some solutions that may help different programs. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to dive in. We're going to do this. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Kangaroo Time. Thank you, Jen. You guys are amazing. I love you guys. I just have to say that. I just absolutely love you guys. So we are going to talk about something really important, and I'm going to share my screen so that you can see it. This is it. Oh, no, this is not it. We're talking about behaviors, not inquiry. I'm so sorry. Give me a minute.
Yeah, Prerna is in such high demand. You're like me. I have so many PowerPoints ready to go.
Give me a second. I'll be with you. I am here. I'm just going to natter on. So the topic that we're going to talk about is really important. Managing challenging behaviors. What is going on here? Oh, I know what I did. Stupid me. Oh my goodness. So I didn't change the title slide. I changed everything else.
Details.
Oh my God, this is a stress brain. For a minute, I thought, what did I do in my presentation? So everybody, I'm just going to skip this slide. So don't even worry about this title. I'm going to begin here. I apologize. Just let's do this. Oh my goodness, that is crazy moment, but it's a real moment. We've all been there. Brains are overwhelmed. You know, I literally jumped from a session before this one. So I'm just happy to be here. I think we did introductions already. I just want to say welcome. I'm so excited to have this time with you to talk about a really important topic. And I'm hoping to have authentic conversations. So if you want to put it in the chat, if you have a question, I am happy to pause my slides and I'm happy to jump to a real issue, real conversation. You have limited time. I want to send some nuggets when you're done with this. So I know when Scott introduced it, he said 5 things, but my 2 other things are buried in this. So don't freak out. I will give you 5 stuff. Don't worry. So the one thing that we're going to definitely talk about, what is challenging behavior? Let's all be on the same page. What is that? And the role of the leader. And we were looking at attendance earlier, and many of you are in the administrative role, director role. So wonderful. If you are a teacher, this is still applicable. Don't just tune out. It is, you're still a leader. You're a leader in your classroom. And then we'll talk about what effective environments look like and what role they play in behaviors. And the last thing we're going to talk about is, if you're currently facing problems, if you're currently having challenging behaviors, which is what I'm guessing you are having, which is what attracted you to this topic, what are we going to do with this information, and how are we going to change and navigate change with our team, right? Because training is only as good as what you implement. So if you don't apply anything, you will keep getting the same results. And if you're stressed out, you've got to make some change. And I'm going to help you how to navigate that change. When you start thinking about behaviors in your program, it's really important to understand the brain states. And each brain state has a different behavior. And I'm not going to spend too long, because many of us probably know about the brain states and are probably going to feel like you're boring me, but I just want to briefly touch on it so that we're all on the same page. So we have a survival brain that has one purpose: to keep us safe. And when we feel safe, our behavior is different. And when we feel anxious or insecure, these 5 F's show up, no matter the age. As an adult, as a child, as a teenager, when I feel anxious, insecure, and just scared, we fight with our hands, we fight with our words, we fight. Kicking is an example. When children fight. Flight, they take off. So you catch them do something and you try to go towards them and they just take off. And you're trying, like, I'm just wanting to see you. I just want to look at you. They're off. I'll give you an example. I was in a classroom coaching and I saw this little guy put a Lego in his pocket. He saw me do it. I saw him he put it in his pocket. I took one step towards him and he started running around the tables. I know that he's in his scared brain because of flight. So I stood where I was. And this is a powerful sentence. I would like for you to write this down. If you see these 5 F's showing up in your school, in your classrooms, here's the sentence what I said to that little boy in a very soft voice, because he's already scared. So don't speak too loudly. Don't go too close by. In a soft tone, just say, "You're safe. I'm here to help you." I don't know what is it about these words, "you're safe," but the brain reacts to it. He stood still and I said to him, "What is it? What do you have in your hand?" And he took it out of his pocket and he said, "This." And I said, "Where does it belong?" And he said, "Over there." I said, "Would you mind putting it back?" And he did. He walked over there, he put it back. The teacher I was coaching was shocked. She said, "Prerna, that would have turned into an episode." Yes, it would have turned into an episode because he's already in his survival brain and you're freaking him out more by yelling at him or going too close to him. And now he's scared that he's in trouble. So the same, the "you're safe, I'm here to help you" works magic, just works magic. Or they're frightened or they're scared and they may be getting nightmares. Or if you have children at home and they're having nightmares, this applies to any child, anywhere, any adult, by the way. Or they freeze. Has somebody ever said something to you that has just completely shocked you and you're just like, or you're in a staff meeting or you're in your office and somebody stops by and says something, or a parent yells at you and you're just like, huh? And then you sleep on it, you walk away from it and you're like, why didn't I have a comeback? I could have said this and this and this, but my brain was frozen because you were in your survival brain. When parents come at you, when children come at you, when teachers come at you, our brain freezes. We go into our survival brain. Fibbing is the new latest one that they've added. Now, this is the latest research. Fibbing is when they tell you little white lies. You see them do something, they hit, they bite, they kick, and you ask them, and they're like, no, no. They steal something, they drop something, they break something, and they say no, and they stick to their story because I might get into more trouble if I own up to this. So I'm already in trouble, so I'm just going to keep lying about it. And sometimes adults, this becomes a trigger for them. So the reason I wanted to share this is because some of this is our trigger, and how we show up as adults for the children has a lot to do with how they are going to manage their stress. And by the way, I know this is not a stress session, but we're all under a lot of stress, and stress plays a part in how we react to children or respond to children. And because we're having a conversation about challenging behaviors, I have to be honest and put this at the table here. 80% of what happens to children is how the adult responded or didn't respond.
Prerna, we've been talking about this a lot internally, as again, back to the what we were alluding to earlier with staffing and creating a work environment. We're really working hard to create safety. And that extends in so many different areas. So do our engineers feel safe enough to advocate for themselves and bargain for and advocate for ideas? Are we as a leadership team, are we creating an environment of safety so that there is not a flight response or a fright response or a freeze response? We want free-flowing creativity. We want everybody to work in an environment where they're in love with what they do, mm-hmm. and where they're optimizing their free flow creativity and performance. And again, it relates so well to, I mean, we're all just graduating from early education classrooms to the world of personal economics and providing for our families, and then that cycle starts all over again with our families.
Thank you, Scott, for saying that, because yes, even do we feel safe to share our thoughts and our opinions? Are we bottling it up while we're at work because I may get into trouble? Or I hate this sentence when people say, I just work here. No, you're giving your life here. You are giving a big part of your life there. You shouldn't have to feel that I can't share my opinion and thoughts because of the dictatorship that's around or the controlling environment that's around. So even the safety, the survival brain can happen if you don't feel like you can share your opinion, that you're not included, that you're not asked for an opinion. So thank you, Scott, for reminding us that it's not just physical safety, it's even emotional safety and even sharing mental, thoughts.
Prerna, the number one quality of somebody that has success in life, in my opinion, is the ability to kind of exercise intellectual curiosity.
I love it.
Again, there's an unbelievable confidence for mm-hmm. those of us that whether it's kind of like self-made or whether, like me, I was perfectly parented by just a wonderful woman that made me feel like I was very smart. And if you want to go and be an entrepreneur, you crazy guy, you go do that. You have terrible ADD, don't worry about it. We'll get you through this. But safety is, to me, is the key mechanism for intellectual curiosity and really doing great things.
And I think we all benefit when there's intellectual curiosity and when we can share and learn in the space, because each one of us, if there's nothing else that you take from this session, I just want you to know this: you are enough. You are enough. You don't have to compete. You don't have to copy. You don't have to become like somebody. You don't have to run your program like somebody. You are enough. Believe in yourself and create an environment where you're going to empower other people to shine their light. We can all have bright lights. We're not going to dim each other's lights. If I don't let, if I shine slightly less, I'm going to let, it doesn't affect that way. And children, by the way, this is why this is important. Children pick up on these. These are emotional intelligence cues, by the way. Children pick up on emotional intelligence. Do the adults in this space respect each other? Do the adults in this space get along? Do the adults each other encourage each other? Are the adults listening to each other? It all filters down. It all filters down. All right, so I'm going to keep going. Now, the next part of the brain is the emotional brain. So the survival brain has 5 Fs, and it's a simple sentence that says, you're safe. But please don't yell, you are safe. I've seen people do that. Don't do that. You're scaring the child even more, or even your teachers. These are the behaviors if you're seeing happening: screaming, yelling, hysterical crying, throwing, destroying, tantrums. The full blown, that's an emotional brain. I will give you an example. I was in a classroom, and this teacher, I was helping her because, by the way, that's one of the things I do. I coach teachers with challenging behaviors, and I help directors. So what I'm talking to you today, I've applied. I'm not just talking to you from a book. I'm sharing strategies that work. So this little 3-year-old was in the classroom. Zach is his name, and he was running around the classroom and just destroying everything in his hand. Have you met Zach yet? He throws everything. Like, all the manipulators are going and he's just running and there's chaos. And that's why I'm in this class, which is not a surprise. And I went near to him. I didn't want to get in his way because I don't want to get run over. So I went near to him, and this is what I said to him. So here's your sentence, the magic sentence for the emotional brain. All I said to him was, I see you, I hear you, I love you, but I don't like what you're doing. I see you, I hear you, I love you, but I don't like what you're doing. And Scott, I was blown away because this is what Zach did. He stopped, he looked at me, and he said, you see me? I was not expecting that. I'm like, yes, I see you. Everybody sees you. The classroom is destroyed. What are you talking about? This is what I'm thinking in my head. I'm like, yes, I see you. And he was feeling invisible in the moment.
Prerna, it's so interesting. So that mechanism of again, so many of you here are director level. We looked before we jumped on, and so I think 80% of you are you're the commander in a classroom. So you have that great privilege of being in a classroom and building body, souls, and minds, or you're the pioneer that's open to business, or you're the leader, you're the general inside of a center. And I Prerna, I really I try to prioritize this. I try to remember this. But as a CEO, I'm a great operator, right? Like, I'm a really effective operator. I've been able to do things on very little money, or overcome some things, build a great business, hire the best of the best people. And I think I made a decision a few years ago that my job was no longer to scrutinize every penny. It was no longer to walk around and ensure that everybody was trained perfectly. My job transitioned in about 2017, when things started to really go well, to making sure our employees are seen, they're heard, they're loved. Making sure, like, as a CEO, my most important job is to give everybody a hug across the digital Ponderosa, let them know that when they do accomplish something, that brings me tears, it brings me pride. But again, not even relating it back to, like you said, Prerna, when people don't love their jobs, or they say it's just a job, it's so sad, because they're so far away from being connected to having fulfilled emotional needs, because that's your livelihood. We are programmed to propagate and contribute to our communities. And it's the biggest community, the one that pays you and puts food on the table, is one that just, I don't care about it. That's such a bad place. It's such a bad place.
Yeah. See, Scott, you are such a good leader, and you're sharing practical strategies that you do for your team. You know, at the end of the day, we have a human brain, and at the end of the day, we have emotional needs. And if we're not seen as individuals, if we're not seen as unique, if you don't just clump me all together with the toddler teachers and preschool teachers, and if you don't just keep calling me girls, I hate when directors call their team girls. It is so demeaning. You know, they're respectful women, they're educated, they're talented. Let's label them properly. And I know it's an endearment term, so I'll get off my high horse about it, because, you know, it's fine. But I just wanted just to create the other perspective, that when we use words like that, we're not recognizing and seeing them for who they are. We're not hearing their opinions, and we just talked about that earlier. Loving is an emotion. We could say all day, I love my team, I love my parents, I love my teachers, I love my children. But love is an emotion. Either you feel it or you don't. And guess what? None of this goes away as we age. So if I don't feel seen and heard and respected and accepted in my work environment, I am carrying that stress with me every day. So, what does it mean to be accepted and respected at work? That you ask me, if you're a leader, don't just volunteer me. Ask me for my opinion. Why? Because my voice matters, my opinions matter. I want to be heard, right? So, I know we have many good things to cover, so I'm going to keep going. This is the other nugget that I really want everybody to never ever forget. Behavior is a form of communication. So if your children are acting out, if your parents are acting out, if your teachers are acting out, they are telling you some emotion behind it. And sometimes we don't know what it is, and we have to sit in a wondering place and play detective. Children never ever come up and say, I'm stressed out, I'm having a bad day. They act out. They act out. And right now, with stress being high, children are acting out more and more. And staff are acting out more and more, which is understandable. So I'm going to keep going. This is a little tidbit of what we see. There's a whole lot of emotions underneath it. And one of the things, okay, because I'm all about strategies, I want to give you a strategy. So when people have a plan, they do better. I do better when I have a plan. So directors will quite often ask me, how do I support a teacher when there's actually a meltdown happening? The teacher will say, I don't know what to do when the child is screaming at me and throwing stuff and hitting me. What do I do in the moment? Okay, this is why you got to plan ahead. So your plan is going to include three things. What am I going to think? What am I going to say? And what am I going to do? Okay, so the thinking, what I do for myself, because like I just said, I'm in classrooms helping extreme behaviors. This is my thinking process. This is what I do. So when I see behavior happening, my thinking is, okay, remind yourself, trainer, behavior is a form of communication. What are they trying to communicate? And the next word that I do, because I love acronyms, is SBA. I tell myself, trainer, SBA, SBA, SBA. What are they trying to tell you? SBA stands for stop, breathe, and anchor. If I can anchor myself, I can show up for the children. I'm not going to let the overwhelm of this behavior drown me. Because if this tsunami wave is going to drown me, I am not going to be able to help anybody. So I'm thinking behavior is a form of communication, SBA, breathe, anchor yourself, just find where your feet are, just wiggle your feet. Okay. So what will I say? That's the next thing, right? My words will depend on if I've decided, is this survival brain or emotional brain? My words will be you're safe or I see you, right? I've given you strategies. The act part, only act if other children are in danger or product is in danger, like material is in danger. Don't act if you have to protect other children, get away other children from the person who's throwing and destroying. Only act for safety. Otherwise, don't act, just use your words, be present, and help the child bring the stress down.
Hey, Prerna, I'll add to that. This really connects the last session we did on executive function. And when we talk executive function and you get to emotional dysregulation, so that skill of being able to regulate your emotions in the moment, like you said earlier, feeling what you think and the training you dedicate yourself to, it's so important in those moments. So like you said, you have to stop, breathe, anchor, understand your emotional dysregulation, understand that, and then start to think through the pot, think through why you're here, why this is happening. Let's do the diagnosis, and then we move from there. So again, like all these things tie together, and I know we speak of them in the world of child development and the cognitive growth of a child, but as a leader, these things are so important to dial in and work on and obsess over yourself. And the reason I say obsess, I think there have been studies that have shown, 90-95% of our trajectory in life, be it with economics, learning, intellectual curiosity, has to do with self-talk, right?
100%.
So what you think, and that training, it's never natural to lean positive. You know, I think we all have the tendency. It's work. We have to work on that, and then with, you know, once you become masterful at that, we can work with the people around us and helping them with that emotional dysregulation, the dysphoria.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for reinforcing. Yes, the self-talk is the biggest hindrance we all face. We all beat ourselves up, you know? Okay, so let's continue with the problem because we're here about challenging behaviors. Put it in the chat. I am curious to know, are you seeing an increase in behaviors? Are you seeing decreased behaviors? Like, what are you noticing in the part of the world that you're joining from? What is happening? And is this relevant to you? Or am I making this up that this is just in Dallas and Plano that's happening, you know? So whose problem is it and whom does it impact? The child who has the dysregulated behaviors. Like, there is no bad child. There's dysregulated brains. There's no bad adult. It's dysregulated adults, right? And so does it affect the parents? Does it affect all your families? Does it affect your teachers? Does it affect the leader? Or is it just the child who's having the brain out of control's problem? My guess is you'll say it's everybody, because nobody can function when there's a screaming, yelling child throwing stuff, and there's happening in every classroom. You know, I'm also a PD specialist for CDA, so I go to observe those. And quite often I'll be observing in one classroom and there's non-stop crying in the hallways, non-stop. That's stressful. That affects everybody. Other parents will start feeling that teacher's not giving my child enough attention. This is a problem. It spills, it leaks. It's everywhere. So here's now practical strategies. If you are noticing an increase in behavior, do you know what your teachers know about the child with the challenging behavior? Like we just talked about, you know, the emotional brain has needs. Are you and your teachers familiar with the concept of emotional cup? Like, say yes in the chat or give me a thumbs up. If you don't, I'm going to briefly talk about emotional cups because I don't want to use any terminology that people are like, what was that? She lost me. So emotional cups, this is what it is. We all have it. It's an emotional cup that we carry. The emotional cup has one purpose: to have good thoughts and good feelings about ourselves. And guess what? You can't fill your own emotional cup. You need somebody else to fill your cup. And many people think that they can dip into somebody else's bucket and fill their own bucket. It doesn't work like that. So what are some things that fill your emotional bucket or cup? If you know, put it in the chat. But if not, I'll give you some, and maybe some of it will be covered. Smiling, hugging, helping, caring, showing a concern. That makes somebody else feel compliments. Yeah, somebody just wrote compliments. Yes, things that make others people feel good fills your cup. But this is what the concept about the cup. Let me tell you about this. So pretend this is our cup. And this applies for children. This applies for your staff. This applies for your parents. Everybody's walking in with an invisible cup. You don't see it. But some people walk in with this much filled, and you have to keep depositing in their cup to bring the balance up. Some people walk in with this much filled and just need a little bit of topping up, and they're good to go. The children who are acting out, the staff that are acting out, by the way, staff are just grown-up children. I'm sorry. If you don't treat them right, they act just the same way. So people who are acting out have an empty emotional cup. It's your job as a leader to understand and unpack and fill it. So that's the reason why I asked the first question. Do your teachers know about that individual child, what's happening at home, what you know, all that stuff? How they perceive their role. Do teachers think that it's not my job to keep chasing kids running out of my classroom, or they feel like it's not my job, the parents are being unreasonable, it's not my job, I'm only here to teach and you're asking me to do so much? Or what do they feel that you should be doing as a leader? Where is the disconnect? Right? If you don't talk about these things, it is only going to fester. Make sense? So you got to bring things in the open and have confidence in yourself to ask these questions. But also, it goes back to the conversation we were just having. Let your staff know that they're safe to share. Maybe they think that you should be coming in the classroom and handling it. Maybe they feel that you should be dismissing this child. Maybe they feel like you should be enrolling this family. What do they think that you should be doing? All right, here's what teachers need to know. So that's the first one, is just really understanding what is really happening in reality. What do they know? But here's what they do need to know if we have any hope in changing the behavior. And like I said earlier, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get the same results. You got to make some changes. They need to understand themselves and their triggers. A minute ago, I'd said 80% of the behaviors happen because of how adults react, not respond, react. When adults react, they're not in their learning brain. They're in their emotional brain, or they're scared themselves. So
Prerna,
trigger.
I know you're in a flow, but I've got to just shoehorn
This
this
is
in.
good. This is good.
In childhood development, often I see adults around children that are fragile, and they tiptoe around them to avoid triggers, right? So you'll often see, like when I was building out our point of care platform, I would see two teachers say, you can't say that, you can't say that around this child. And then immediately I'm going in with my training and background in human sciences and psychology and saying, that's the wrong approach, right? Like the booby traps are out there. Let's work towards mitigating triggers. Let's work towards the taking the emotional brain and connecting it to why there is. So I think there's a sweet science here to educating your teachers enough to not just avoid triggers and create safety, but also to create growth, right? To create growth, and let's make these insurmountable challenges no longer insurmountable.
100%. Thank you for interjecting. I just read the comment and somebody said, with the teacher turnover and we're losing teachers, and to hire qualified and experienced teachers makes it more challenging. Okay, so let's talk about that. So you have a new person who's joined your team, and they don't have the child development, they don't have the brain development, they don't understand, they don't know the child's background, family, whatever. It's almost going to be worth your time to spend time onboarding this person with these important things. And you don't have to do it alone. Reach out to a resource so that you can give them that knowledge and that information. What have they seen in the child's file? What can you share with them? What can you keep confidential? If we empower our teachers to give them what we can, they are going to be more likely to be successful, so they don't get burnt out and leave again. There was a school that had reached out in Pennsylvania, and who said that this toddler classroom is spitting out and eating teachers and spitting them out. Like, she's had 7-8 teachers who cannot last in this classroom because there's 10 children and they're all out of control, and she keeps hiring, and she's put somebody from another age group temporary in there. And one of the first things I said to her was, well, make sure that this is not a temporary relationship. The only way to meet their needs is to give them stability. So she said, but I can't do that. I need you to help me, but this person is going back. I'm like, but the cycle is going to keep continuing. It's coming because it's not a need met, right? So what can you do? What's in your control? You can't stress about what's not in your control. What resources can you give this teacher? What help can you give? Who can shadow? Who can scaffold? Who can mentor? What do we have? And maybe you have nobody because you're so short-handed that you're in a classroom yourself. Is it valuable to have a conversation at the end of the day or the break with this teacher? Okay, what happened? Let me help you unpack it if you have more experience. So don't shy away from it. Go towards it. And there are resources out there that you can use. You're not alone. You're not alone. Reach out. People like me can help. People like Scott can help. People like, there's resources out there. So if you don't know where to begin, reach out to Kangaroo Time. They will guide you in the right direction. So you're not alone. And one of the main things that when I was talking about triggers was the adult's trigger. So when children scream, that's a trigger for some adults. They lose it. When children fight and they cry, they lose it. So helping the teacher, the new teacher, understand her triggers and how is she going to keep calm? How is she going to support herself? And then, what is happening in the environment? And we're going to talk about the environment in just a minute, because that was one of my bigger points that I want to definitely talk about. There are also policies. What behavior policies do you have in place? Looking at your accident and incident report, are you noticing a pattern for a certain time of the day, from a certain classroom, from a certain age group? What is going on? Look at your accident and incident reports. Don't just file them. Don't just put them away. And then there's two strategies: prevention strategies and intervention strategies. Prevention is really treating all children and all adults with capable, intelligent mindset. I've heard teachers say things like, oh, kids these days, they're ridiculous. They just want so much. They just cry. But that's not very respectful, and we're not giving them credit, you know? Also, the social climate. What is your social climate in your building, in your program? How high is the stress level? What is the support system amongst the team? How is the relationship? I know I'm going back to it, but it filters down. Clear expectations of teachable moments. Are we having reflective conversations? Are we going back and talking to the child? Are we going back and talking to the teacher? Or are we just washing our hands and saying, thank goodness that's over? And the 3 rules of discipline. I know every classroom, every building has their own thousands of rules, but here's my very simple 3 rules: safe feelings, safe bodies, and safe materials. But these 3 rules are not for your classroom. These 3 rules are for your organization. They're for your business. They are for your running of how you are running your space. And I already talked about the intervention strategies. I jumped the gun. I already told you about SBA and having a plan. Any questions so far? Any wondering so far? Maybe I'm going too fast. So far, so good. Okay. The more we connect, the less we correct. I cannot emphasize this enough. If you are noticing your teacher's language always being, do this, don't do this, come here, you're not sitting right, oh, la, 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 la. If this is what you're noticing when you're walking up and down the hallways, they're not connecting with the children. They're only correcting. And this next one is a biggie. Attention-seeking behavior is a relationship-seeking need. Period, full stop. These are sessions that I do for 3 hours and 4 hours, and I dive deep into it with examples. So I'm giving you the Cliff Note version. And if you have more questions with it, please ask, and I'll try to address them. But any attention-seeking behavior, if you're doing this and you have to do this, that's attention-seeking behavior. If the teacher is having a behavior in the classroom and she brings a child to your office and says, this child is out of control, you deal with it. This happens. I've seen it. But that's attention seeking. Even the teacher is screaming out for attention. Right? I also wanted to talk about this because okay, fine. I know maybe people will hate me after this for saying this. So many schools are using catch a bubble, but catch a bubble is not emotionally acceptable. Catch a bubble, in essence, what you're saying to children is, when you say catch a bubble, like, I don't care, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to hear you. You're putting your hand up. And guess what the need of the emotional brain is? See me and hear me. Right? So please try to stay away from catch a bubble. Here are some other examples. Take a picture of this if you want to. Train your teachers to use emotionally sensitive attention getters. Every time we communicate with children, we're sending a message. I don't care about you. No empathy. So the opposite of empathy is apathy. I don't care. Or empathy. I understand you. I've even seen catch a bubble and ducktail. So the children are walking with their hands in the back like a ducktail, and they've got bubbles in their mouth. That is not emotionally acceptable. All right, I'll keep going. I don't know how much time I have, but here are my environment tips for you. If your scheduling is off, too many transitions, not enough outdoor time. If you're moving children, shuttling children too much, it will result in behaviors. If your classrooms and activities are overstimulating or understimulating or disorganized and not welcoming, you will have behaviors. Developmentally appropriate curriculum is age appropriate. So it's not only good for the 3-year-old, but it's also good for that individual 3-year-old. Age appropriate and individual appropriate. Right? These are some of the basic things. So if you're having behaviors in your classroom, I really want you to reflect and say, which one of these is off for me and what can I do? How can I change this? This is where I want to talk about the mindset. This is really important. I don't know how much time I have, but mindset, changing our mindset is key. So I don't know how old most people are, but I remember back in the 90s, there was this cell phone that looked like a brick, the one that you see in the middle. This is a cell phone we had when we were in Hawaii. And it was in our car, and it was bought for an emergency only. I don't think we ever used it. I don't think I even knew how to use it. It lived in our car for emergency. Then came the 2000s, and we got the Nokia. And it fitted in our purses, and it fitted in our pockets, and we were so excited with life. Now we have smartphones, which is in the world in our palms. Would you go back to the brick cell phone, no matter how much money somebody would give you? You have seen better. You have changed your ways. That's the same thing with mindset. You have to recognize the need for change. The fact that you're here tells me that you're facing challenging behaviors in your programs and you want to change them. And once you know better, you do better. So how to navigate change? Change is not easy and people get very scared. With all the things that we've talked about, I'm sure you're thinking, I'm going to have to do some changes. How am I going to do this? The best thing that you can do is bring it out in the open and involve the team. Hear from their perspectives and acknowledge their talent and their contribution. And it's not a one-person job. Scott was giving really good analogies earlier. Your role as a teacher, your role as a director. And the biggest thing that I've found helpful as I've been coaching programs is this last activity. We list our fears and barriers. Okay, so let's make a list of all your fears. Okay, I'm asking you to change your schedule. I'm asking you to change your activities. I'm asking you to change your environment. List me your fears and list me your barriers. What is stopping you from doing it and what are you scared of doing? Most often, the number one, and this is something that I help schools facilitate. So the number one answer that comes up is, I don't have time to learn all this. I don't have time. I don't have the resources. I don't. And so you have to dig deeper. Okay, what can we do, right? So you got to identify the fears and you got to figure out the barriers. Otherwise, nobody's listening to a word of what you got to say. How are we doing with time, Scott? Do we have lots?
We've got about 3 minutes left, and we have a great one that I'd like to close with. By the way, love the contact, the text, and the content. But I've got one from Nicole here. It says, my biggest issue at the moment is a 4-year-old boy who melts down for 30 to 40 minutes on end, screaming, kicking, knocking down chairs, hitting, crying. He's triggered by everything from a splash of water to not wanting to share transitioning activities. What do I do?
So he could be in the scared brain and the emotional brain because he's displaying hitting, kicking, and screaming. All of it is happening. So I will share a little trick with you. It's called the 9-minute connect. And the concept behind 9-minute is 3 minutes at a time. This is the child. I'm going to call him Zach because I'm working with a child like him. So Zach is also 4 years old, and his emotional cup is empty. And the 9-minute connect, this is what happens. So you find something to have a playful, joyful moment. So a connect moment has to have these 4 things: eye contact, presence, you got to be fully present, touch, appropriate touch, and playfulness or fun. So the other day when he was destroying the classroom, I did a thumb war with him. I said, do you want to play a thumb war? And so Zach came and we linked thumbs and I had eye contact. I was holding his hands, and we played the old-fashioned thumb war. And then there was one that I did with him where round and round the garden goes the teddy bear. I was doing it on his palm. And one step, two step, tickly under there. Playful moments for 3 minutes at a time. It takes less than 3 minutes, actually, less than 3 minutes. But you pour love into that child. And for a child like Zach, you have to do multiple connects throughout the day. For normal children, if you did 3 minutes in the morning, 3 minutes in the afternoon, and 3 minutes before they leave you, 9 minutes is enough. But when their bucket is completely empty, the teacher, the director, whoever the support staff is, pop in there, give him a hug, have a fist fight, do an arm bump, do a toe tap, do some playful something together. So 4 things: eye contact, presence, touch, and play. Create moments with Zach or these children who are really, really empty and everything is a trigger for them. They are telling you, I'm running on empty and I don't know what to do. Children scare themselves, by the way, when they lose it. Also, the self-talk that is happening in a child's brain who's this dysregulated. Oh man, I lost it again. Oh, I'm the worst child. I didn't want to do that. I didn't mean to do that. I used to work in a trauma-informed school in Dallas, and this is the story that kept happening. And the role that I played as a director there, every time this little guy would lose it, I would walk into his classroom and I would like, okay, Alex, time for a walk. Him and I would take a walk around the building. We would breathe. We would look at the trees. We would look at the sky. We would regulate, and then I would connect with him. So what happened? What happened in there? And he would tell me what happened. And then we would talk about what can you do the next time? And guess what? The whole year from August to March, I did this. I did not see results till April. Finally, in April, he had bonded with me. We had got a trust relationship. So what I'm sharing with you is meaningful, deep work. It may not happen tomorrow, but I promise you, if you are sincere about it and you deposit in this child's emotional bucket, you will make a difference for that brain, because remember, 90% of the brain gets wired birth to 5. So the role that you're playing in your early childhood program, Nicole, is crucial. And I wish you all the best. And I know that it's very draining and I know that it's very stressful, but I also know that if anybody can do it, early childhood educators can do it.
I love it. I love it, Prerna. And yes, bless you, Nicole. Yeah, you're doing the great work. Prerna, is there anything you want to close with?
I just wanted to ask them, how are they feeling right now after this session? Give me one word in the chat. What are you feeling right now? What is your emotional state right now? Just give me one word of what today's session has felt for you, or what are you feeling? And then of course, if you want to reach me, great. I love these words: encouraged, hopeful, excited, equipped. Yes, inspired. Yes. And reach out. I have a YouTube channel, but also reach out if you're looking for consulting and coaching for your team. I do 30 minutes free. I'm happy to connect. This is the space that I really want to make a difference. And I want to help teachers, that I can, and help directors, because you need support too. You're doing important work.
Amazing, Prerna. No, I love doing my hours with you. Who cares if we have technical difficulties, because we do our breathing exercises and we don't live in that emotional brain. Or we're not going to have a fight or flight response. But Prerna, you knocked it out of the park again. Thank you so much. We love it. In the background, I've been chatting with Genevieve. We're gonna do something very soon. So get ready. Everybody out there, we love you guys. Again, that was really a sweet response to Nicole's question. In my head, I'm thinking, I know Nicole is just wringing her hands and just going through every option. And then you think about the empathy that child needs. And Prerna, you said it best. People on this call, the people that you're loving through their careers in those tough moments in the classroom, they're doing the wonderful work. And we are all just so blessed and fortunate to be connected with you all.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And I also wanted to share that there's a free resource that Jen is going to share. If you want to download Understanding Tantrums and Meltdowns, there's other resources. And I apologize, the last time that I said this, go to my website crashed because so many of you went there, but I think it's fixed now. So if you want to, Jen is sharing that, and it's a free download. You don't have to contract with me. You don't have to do anything. Just like Scott said, we want to share resources that can help. So, we're in the sharing space.
Amazing, everybody. I can't wait for the next one. Prerna, thank you so much.
Thank
Be
you,
safe.
Scott.
We love you guys. Reach out if we can help and support you. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kangaroo Time. You're doing amazing work. Thank you, Scott.
Prerna.